Hello and welcome to Channel's Book Club. My name is Olakule Kasumu, and it's great to be on the show. We are running to the end of 2023. What a year 2023 has been for us as a country. Tough year. Election year, initially, it was all about politics, and then change of government at state levels, at federal level, and then we've got a new government there now. But as for the economy, it has been so tough. And oh man, I'm giving you a hug from here. Nigerian, I'm giving you a hug. What a tough year it has been. And hopefully, we always believe as Nigerians, we always believe tomorrow will be better and next year will be better. But it's not just enough to believe. We have to do the right things. We have to do what we have to do. Faith is not enough. There has to be works too. Well, this is Channel's Book Club, and we like to talk books. Last week, we began to introduce to you some new books. I mentioned last week that we always get a lot of new books sent to us by writers. That's one of the privileges of running this show. We always get books coming to us every week. So we get a peep into the new books in town. And we began to introduce some of them to you last week, and we promise that we'll continue to do so. This is one of the books I introduced last week, The Job Hunter's Blueprint by Chalia Princess Mirigazi. Hopefully we'll get her on the show. But for a lot of people at the end of the year are thinking of, oh, next year I want to get another job. I want to get another job. And I was speaking to a young man recently who said he wants to get another job. Can I connect him to so? And I said, where's your CV? Where's your CV? You need to start with a very good CV, and then getting a job is a job in itself. So you have to make it like this is your job. Getting a job is my job right now. So you give it all it takes. But in this book, The Job Hunter's Blueprints, Chalia Princess Mirigazi, very interesting. If you are looking for a job, a new job in 2024, you want to get this book and you want to read. One of the things she puts here is selling yourself, putting yourself out there, selling yourself at the interview, which was exactly the things I was discussing with a young man. A good CV. So putting yourself out there, you need a distinctive CV and you need a good application letter. And she wrote about how that has to be done very well. That's the starting point. If somebody sees your CV, most employers will first meet you through your CV. They won't meet you physically first. They'll meet you through your CV. So if your CV does not sell you properly, then you won't get that call and you won't get that chance to sit across the table to be able to speak physically. But, well, read Chalia Princess Mirigazi's The Job Hunter's Blueprint, one of the books we recommended to you last week. Isoken. This book, Building Boldly, A Fearless Woman's Journey to Engaging in Business for Impact. Well, small book, a memoir, and it is really, really good. If you're a young lady out there, but not just young ladies, really, generally, this story of this fabulous woman, she finally put her story in this book, and you want to get your hands on it and read. The good thing here is small size, so you can go through it very quickly. There's this book, The Dynamic. This is very intellectual, and of course, written by a very intellectual, very accomplished gentleman. The Dynamic Intersections of Economics, Foreign Relations, Jurisprudence, and National Development by Femi Ojumu. Now, this book, we are going to be featuring this book at some point in time early next year. So I won't say much, but for people who understand this title, this topic, it's an absolute must-read book for them. But we'll talk to Mr. Femi Ojumu very soon, January next year. So look out for that. Now, another one here. This is not a new book, but as I was looking for the new books to introduce, I just stumbled on this and I couldn't resist flipping through it again. We featured this book some time ago, The Making of the Nigerian Flagship, A Story of the Guardian. We featured the authors of this book on this show and it was such a fabulous time. And I was just going through it again. It's a big fat book, but you can capture a lot of different stories. You don't have to read it from beginning to the end, but there are a lot of very interesting stories you can just pick and read and drop the book and get back to it some other time. But wow, you remember the Guardian story is so fascinating. The way the Guardian started, the Hebrew family, the late Alex Hebrew, who was the publisher of the Guardian. And remember his story, remember how he was shot some time ago. I think that was about 1996, and how he survived that assassination attack, lost one of his eyes at that time during the Sonny Abacha era. I was just remembering all those things, and I was really fascinated by this. I read it back then, but maybe it's something I need to go through again. And then there's this book titled Governance Under Gross Limitations by Anthony Agbo, former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We had him on this show when he wrote his first book titled Africa, the Glory, the Cause, the Remedy. Remember that book? And we got a lot of calls after that conversation with Anthony Agbo. And he has written another one, Governance Under Gross Limitations, Ancient Secret Mystery and Truth that explains the failure of leadership and progress in Africa. Now, this is the kind of book that puts you on the edge. You're not sure, where do you stand here? Everybody will take a stand. You either absolutely hate this book and call it rubbish, lies, or you just be fascinated by it, completely fascinated by it. But wherever you stand with this book, there is so much rich information in here, very rich information. One of the things that he argues in this book and the previous one is that one of the greatest empires of all time in human history is ancient Egypt. And ancient Egypt was made up of blacks. So one of the things that pains him, which he expresses in this book and in the previous one, is that somehow historians have managed to convince a lot of people that the ancient Egyptians were not black. So therefore, black people don't have a sense of their roots, their origin, and their history. So if you are black and you understand that one of the greatest empires in the world was the ancient Egyptian empire, and it consisted of blacks and was led by blacks, then that begins to change your perspective about the history, of the black man. So he explains that in this book. And let me read to you just a short line or two here. One of the most unfair and unjust treatment Africa has received along the path of human history is the deliberate effort of the world of enlightenment to raise controversy and doubt over the black African roots, origin, and overall ownership of ancient Egyptian civilization, including the broad legacy of achievements thereto, which is exactly what I was trying to say. That ancient Egypt did not consist of black people or was not led by black people. Therefore, black people don't really have a history of world dominance. So, well, like I said, you have to take a stand with this one. Governance Under Gross Limitations by Anthony Agbo. So we'll be introducing to you new books, and we'll keep talking about them. The ones we introduced last week, we've got a few people who sent us messages and said, oh, where do I get that one? Where do I get that one? So keep looking out. We'll keep introducing them to you, and then ask us if you need any of them. We'll point you in the right direction. It's the end of 2023. What a year we have had. And we're going to be taking you down memory lane this episode, and of course, the next episode, just to remind you of what it has been like on this show in 2023. Let's get started with that. The trip down the 2023 memory lane on Channels Book Club. Can you share with us 3 ideas? Many parents, I may say, my children are not interested in books. I want my children to develop a reading culture. What can I do to make my children read more and all that? Can you share 3 ideas, 3 tips? Maybe your favorite 3 tips on how to get a child interested in reading.
That's a great, a great thing to do. So my first tip certainly would be try and meet your child where they're at. So I think as parents, we're usually enforced how we want our children to learn and what they want to learn when we want them to learn. And it's really important. Firstly, young children rarely have a lot of autonomy in their lives. So it's wonderful for storytelling time to be a time where they can exercise choice. So ask them what they're interested in. Not everybody reads the same way, and there's enough diversity within children's literature to do that. Secondly, build an occasion and a routine around reading. So for instance, my son loves routine, so we do bedtime stories as a must, and now we've started to do good morning stories. So even when we wake up in the morning, we'll just snuggle in bed together and have a quick read. And usually those books are only about 5 minutes, a 5-minute read at max. And if you can just stick to that, however busy you get in your day, because as a parent, I know things get really hectic. It just means that you are apportioning just 10 minutes in your day for 2 stories.
Just 10 minutes.
Yeah, and you'll be surprised to find out that that actually just might be the highlight of your child's day, that undivided time to just sit and share something with you.
And that will be a special memory.
Absolutely.
No matter how many years pass, that child will always remember those moments.
And
the third one?
The third one, don't underestimate how important it is for children to see characters that look like them. Yes, characters that look like them. It doesn't have to be every character, because children have such a vivid imagination that we can all inject ourselves into all sorts of characters like we do in movies and relate to people regardless of where they're from. However, when children see stories with characters that either look like them, come from a similar heritage to them, share some cultural nuances in their homes or in their family structure, it makes them feel listened to. It helps them not feel alone, and it helps them to be able to be more emotionally intelligent as they learn to connect how they feel and what they see about themselves in other characters as well.
Why did you pick that title?
Yeah, I like to watch things from my balcony. I like to watch things over a period of time. And what I've discovered that when politicians fight or tell us they're doing something for the public good, or they are doing it for Nigeria to be better, to fight this, to fight that, after some time, I found out that actually they are being motivated by politics. Not most of the time, anyway, let me be fair, it's just motivated by politicking, not because anybody really cares about Nigeria. It's not as if they are doing it for the love of God. So when you are hearing people saying they want to rescue Nigeria, they want to change Nigeria, they want to revive Nigeria, they want to recover Nigeria, I tend to understand as just politics. So how do I win this election? How do I get elected? How do I get applause from the public?
What do we have in here?
Okay, so this book is about the startup stories of 76
businesses.
76 businesses, both local and international businesses. And the concept is to talk about how they started, what exactly they did to break through, and where they currently are. And these stories are short details, so you don't get bored with, the life stories of everybody. So, just short details, going straight to the point. But it also comes with, every story comes with a QR code that you can scan with your smartphone to watch a YouTube video on these founders. So you're either watching an interview, a documentary, where the founders themselves are talking about how they were able to do what they did with their businesses. And so it's a book that really connects you directly to those who have built successful businesses.
Well, believe it or not, it's been 10 years of doing this. The first episode of Channels Book Club came on the air February 2013. It's been 10 years of talking to writers, authors, publishers, and covering book events within and outside Nigeria. When we started this, people were wondering, can you do a show about books in a country where there is poor reading culture? Well, we did, and here we are now. And we've shown that Nigeria can indeed become a reading society. Yes, we can. Well, 10 years ago, I was very nervous, as you will see in the clip we're about to show, and don't you dare laugh when you watch this. I was very different, looked very different, and sounded very different back then. But in 10 years, we've come a long way, and I like to believe that we have improved a bit. Well, I'll leave that for you to judge. But 10 years is a long time on TV, any show, in the world. It's just a long time. 10 years is a lot of years. And doing this show for 10 years has been very challenging, very exciting, and full of so many experiences. Well, we'll take you back in time so that you see what we looked and sounded like in 10 years. Our first guest then was the one and only, very special Koko Kalango, who has done so much for Nigeria in terms of promoting literature in the country. Let's give you bits and pieces of that very first episode just to take you back in time. Enjoy this. Port Harcourt has won the bid for the UNESCO World Book Capital City for 2014. This is a fantastic development for Nigeria. If we celebrate the hosting of international sports and political events, then we have got to celebrate this. Koko Kalango, a remarkable Nigerian woman, has a lot to do with the winning of that bid. She is the founder of the Rainbow Book Club, Port Harcourt, the convener of the annual Garden City Literary Festival, and one of the foremost advocates of promoting the book culture in Nigeria. We caught up with her to talk about herself, the World Book Capital City bid, the book culture in Nigeria, and her new book, A Coat of Many Colors. Here's Koko Kalango.
We decided to put in a bid for Port Harcourt to be World Book Capital, and we had other cities vying, like Oxford, Lyon in France, Incheon, North Korea, Yaoundé, Cameroon, and a few others. And we emerged the winner. We hold the title in the year of Nigeria's centenary celebration, 2014. So if you ask me, I think that should be made the main focus.
In commemoration of this year's World Bipolar Day, which was held on March 30th, Oluwatomise Oladapo Kuku, a mental health advocate, hosted friends and families to launch her maiden book, Living Mindfully, A Journey to Being.
The intention is to invite you not just to buy the book and support Oluwatomise, your friend, your family, but to challenge you to be brave. Brave enough to sit with yourself and have a conversation with yourself. The purpose is to see if you can begin to understand why you wear the guards that you wear, the shields that you wear every time you face a day. This book is an offshoot of all the work I and the great people in my corner
The United States Consulate in Lagos hosts the Writers Interactive Network WIN to a special book reading session. WIN, a Lagos-based literary club, aims to foster and sustain a connection between writing, creativity, and the society. The U.S. Consul General William Stevens, who is a lover of science fiction, reads from Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card.
"I hate this game," he said. "It isn't fair. It's stupid. It's rotten." And instead of pushing his face into one of the liquids, he kicked one over and then the other, dodged the giant's huge hands as the giant shouted, "Cheater, cheater!" He jumped on the giant's face, clambered up his lip and nose, and began to dig into the giant's eyes.
The Chief Executive Officer of Ake Festival, Lola Shunei, reads from her book, The Secret Lives of Baba Segi's Wives.
Mama said it was shameful for a woman to go to church without her husband. And Daddy said Sundays were supposed to be days of rest, as even the Bible itself stipulated. By the time Mama was wailing about me embarrassing my bloodline, I was daydreaming about the peace I would have in my husband's house.
The network of book clubs in collaboration with reading culture promoters in Nigeria, NBRP, has held the first Lagos Book Walk to promote book reading culture in the state. The event brought together stakeholders in the book chain, including the Booksellers Association of Nigeria, the Pan-African Writers Association, the Nigerian Library Association, the Nigerian Publishers Association, the National Library of Nigeria, the Society of Nigerian Young Writers, the Committee for Relevant Art, the Nigerian Copyright Commission, and the Association of Nigerian Authors, Lagos, amongst others. The Lagos Book Walk, aimed at stimulating greater interest in books and reading, commenced from Ikeja bus stop, Lagos, through Obafemi Awolowo Way. Participants moved to the State Secretariat and headed straight to the Ministry of Education building, where they were welcomed by the Permanent Secretary, Office of Special Advisor on Education, Lagos State, Kasali Wahid. The NBRP President, Richard Mama, thereafter presented the Lagos Book Charter, a 10-point proposal to the Permanent Secretary.
The Nigeria International Book Fair. There are book fairs all over the world, and Nigeria has its own book fair. It's called NIBF, Nigeria International Book Fair. It was quite exciting, and we were there. Enjoy this.
To inform them about what policy.
It was themed The Role of a Functional National Book Policy in the African Book Ecosystem. The biggest book fair in Nigeria, a hybrid event, started with the international conference where several local and international stakeholders in the book chain participated.
Thank you very much. Can we give him a bigger round of applause?
In his welcome address, the newly elected chairman of the Nigerian Book Fair Trust, Dario Uluwatui, spoke on the major goal of the NIBF.
The major goal of the Nigerian Book Fair Trust is to use the NIBF as a special purpose vehicle to encourage and improve the reading culture in our country.
After the conference was the official tour of the exhibition stands. The children were not left out at the fair, as several competitions were organized for them. And winners were given certificates and prizes. Some of the children also visited the exhibition stands to shop for books.
What a year it has been. We'll continue with that on our next episode, taking you down memory lane on Channel's Book Club. And you get to remember some of the exciting times we've had on this show. This is where we have to draw curtains. As usual, we'll be excited to get your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.